All right, let's dive into a really fascinating food experiment. We're on the road in Rajasthan, and we're here to answer a pretty surprising question. Can a traditional, super rich roadside meal actually be good for you?
So this is the big question. We usually think that really flavorful, rich food, especially from a dhaba, is going to send our blood sugar through the roof. But is that really true? Well, we decided to put it to the test with a continuous glucose monitor.
Okay, here is our test subject. We were driving to Bikaner, stopped at this local dhaba, and ordered a classic Rajasthani lunch. Let's see what was actually on the plate.
So let's break this down. First up, we've got gatte ki subzi, which is basically dumplings made from gram flour. Then we have kher sangri, this really unique Rajasthani dish with local berries and beans. And with that, just 2 rotis with a good amount of ghee and a little bit of raw onion on the side. A pretty hearty, classic meal, right?
And how did it taste? Oh my God, it was incredible. It was just this explosion of flavor. Tangy, sweet, salty, and wow, was it spicy. This was no bland health food, not at all. This was a full-on, delicious, and honestly, a very memorable meal.
All right, so the meal is done. The flavors were absolutely off the charts. But now, it's the moment of truth. We had to wait and see what the glucose monitor was going to tell us. And folks, this is where things get really, really interesting.
Seriously, take a second and make a guess. After a meal that satisfying, that flavorful, you'd probably expect a pretty big spike in blood sugar, wouldn't you? I mean, I sure did.
And the result? A spike of only 24 milligrams per deciliter. That is it, just 24. An absolutely spectacular result that, I gotta be honest, was pretty shocking. Just let that number sink in for a moment. Now, to really understand how wild that number is, let's put it in context. My typical homemade meal, 4 rotis, some dal, and a vegetable sabzi, that usually gives me a spike of around 40 milligrams per deciliter. So this dhaba meal was way, way lower.
That's right, almost half the spike of what I'd consider a regular, healthy meal at home. This just goes to show you that our assumptions about food can be completely wrong. So the big question is, why? How did this happen?
Okay, it is time to become food detectives and crack this code. Let's really deconstruct this meal and figure out the science behind this incredibly low blood sugar response. Let's look at this breakdown. First, that gatte ki sabzi is made from besan or gram flour, which means it's packed with protein and fiber. Then you've got the kher sangri, which is a fiber powerhouse. And finally, by having just 2 rotis, we kept the carbs under control, while the ghee added a healthy fat, which actually slows down how fast your body absorbs the glucose.
So, there you have it. This is the winning formula. The meal was higher in protein, higher in fiber, and higher in fat, all while being lower in carbohydrates. That specific combination is the absolute key to preventing a massive glucose spike after you eat.
And what's the real-world benefit of keeping your blood sugar stable like that? Well, it's fantastic. It meant I had steady, consistent energy for a full 4 hours. There was no afternoon slump, no sudden energy crash, and absolutely no hunger pangs telling me I needed to snack on something.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's not just about what you're eating, but also about when you're eating. There's one more crucial piece to this puzzle that honestly makes all the difference.
This part is so important. A perfectly balanced meal is only half the battle. That tendency we all have to snack between meals can completely undo all the good work. After a really satisfying, balanced meal like this one, it is critical to just give your body a break for at least 4 to 5 hours. Because here's the thing, the real enemy we're trying to avoid is perpetually elevated blood sugar. It's not about one single spike. It's about keeping your sugar levels high all day long because of constant eating and snacking. That's what leads to bigger health problems down the road. So here is your simple 2-step action plan. First, build your meals around that winning formula we talked about. Plenty of protein, fiber, and healthy fat, while keeping an eye on the carbs. And second, and this is just as important, give your system time to reset. Don't snack for 4 to 5 hours after a solid meal.
And really that brings us to our final thought. What this experiment shows is that our traditional foods, even the ones that seem really rich, can be incredibly well balanced. It challenges us to look beyond just the labels in our assumptions, so I'll leave you with this question. What meal in your own diet might be surprisingly healthy or maybe unhealthy once you start applying these principles? Thanks so much for watching.